You know, Jason, I think the big story has to be Mitch Keller today. Another great start. He's been pretty impressive in May 4-0, 130 ERA. You know, I was starting to wonder. He looked upset in the dugout when they delayed the game in the 5th inning after Brian Reynolds had that single. I didn't know if he was going to come back out, and I'm surprised he did, but it was only 30 minutes.
Yeah, I think he was upset, Richie. I mean, any pitcher in that situation would be upset. He was pitching extremely well. Nobody wants to see that. And, you know, we all look at it that there's not any – you can't really see any evidence of rain. Here comes the tarp. The game stopped. And you think, what in the world are they doing? Well, it turns out that was a really smart move. They put the tarp on. They didn't have to redo the field or anything like that, and Mitch Keller was able to get back on the mound. And I love Derek Shelton sticking with him. I thought it was the smart move. You know, people always wonder kind of what's that sweet spot? When is a guy going to stick around? And they flirted with it today. I think if it's any longer than a half hour, you probably shut him down for the day. But given what the Pirates have experienced in the bullpen, Mitch Keller being able to give them 5 outs on the other side of that and finish his outing up strong, I thought was really important.
I do have to admit, David Bednar made me a little nervous there in the 9th.
Yeah, well, I don't think you were alone there. He seems to want to make it interesting, and he's succeeded in that endeavor. But I'm glad they were able to stay away from some guys who's had some trouble. David Bednar, honestly, has been pretty good recently. His ERA's 2, I think, over the past, 9, 10 outings, something like that. I mean, rough numbers, but he's been much more of the David Bednar that we're used to seeing, and I think he's trending in a positive direction. Some other guys, like Aroldis Chapman, I worry about him, the salary, the role they're putting him in. I think he'll get it figured out, but are they getting $10.5 million worth of value? I'd say no.
Yeah, no way, actually. All right, we got to take a break. Phone lines are jammed right now. Everyone wants to talk about the Pirates. We're going to get to those phone calls coming up next. Stay right there. All right, welcome back to the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. This is our GMC tweet of the night. This is from the @Paul Skeens Muse. Love this Twitter account. Pirates rotation. Love to see that too, Jason. I mean, Skeens, Jones, Keller, Falter, Perez. Look at these guys. I mean, this team should lose 1 out of every 5 games, right?
No, they shouldn't lose, period, Richie. I want to see them go 5 for every 5. But I do love that graphic, man, and it's true. The starting rotation has become the backbone of this team. Again, I do think the offense is trending in a good direction, but I can't believe what they've gotten with Bailey Falter. Talk about the electricity that you're seeing from Jared Jones and Paul Skeens. The Allegheny Electric Company T-shirts, by the way, should be getting way more attention than they are. And Mitch Keller, their $77 million opening day starter, has, what did we show on there, a 130 ERA. And then you're paying Martin Perez to be your number 5 starter? Man, that's darn good.
All right, speaking of Martins, let's go to my hometown of Plum. Martin, what's going on?
Hey, fellas, don't be drinking the Kool-Aid because it's like going back to an old girlfriend. You know they're going to break your heart.
Hey, I'm drinking the Kool-Aid right now. I mean, I like what I see. Look, we know they got a good starting rotation. That was, I thought, maybe their weakest link when we were coming out of spring training. I don't know what you thought, Jason, but I was pretty excited about the lineup. I thought the bullpen would be solid after last year, and then adding Chapman. I was a little worried about the starting rotation. Now that's one thing I'm not worried about.
Yeah, and I'm very happily married, so I'm not going back to any old girlfriends. But, yeah, the starting rotation has been excellent, and that's why I think we're talking like this, Martin. But, I mean, nobody here is saying that they're going to win the World Series or go to the NLCS or anything crazy. We're just saying that they're playing winning baseball. And when you're getting the number of quality starts that the Pirates are, second in the National League to only the Philadelphia Phillies, that's pretty darn good, and it's going to give them a chance to win a lot of games. And I think that was the goal for this year. Nobody came out and said, hey, we have to win the division. They have to finish first in the National League or something crazy like that. But you're looking at them to be over 500. I know beginning of the season I had them around 83, 84 wins. And to get there, the starting rotation is going to be a huge part of it.
Yeah, I was around 80 wins. So, I mean, they're on pace for something like that. But it's so discouraging when you're so optimistic after the start, and then you lose 14 out of 17. You have a couple 7-game losing streaks or whatever they went through, and they're a disaster, like horrible. And then you're all of a sudden, you're just tuned out. You're like, I can't believe that. How bad are they?
Yeah, I mean, it was a rough stretch, and there are going to be more of them, certainly. And I think I understand the frustration when you look at some stuff like Rowdy Tellez. You know, you bring him in here for $3.2 million. He's supposed to solidify a corner infield spot, supply some pop, and it just hasn't been that. Or you look at a guy like Jack Sawinski, who hits 26 home runs last year, and there's all this optimism surrounding him, and we just haven't seen any production. Henry Davis was lights out in spring. He's probably their best hitter, and he just did nothing offensively. So that stuff is certainly frustrating. I get it. But, again, it's a long season. I'm not burying them. I'm not anointing them. All we're doing is acknowledging stuff in the very recent past. And I'm also saying that if your starting pitching is going to continue to perform the way this staff has, that's generally going to lead to pretty good things.
All right, let's go to Dave in the north side. How you doing, Dave?
It's nice to get Bay in the lineup because I think he could get some hits and steal some extra bases if we need it, because he could be the point of this team. What do you think?
He had a hit, scored a run. I like G1 Bay. I mean, I think, look, I don't know if he's not a star, but he's a guy that can help you win games. He's fast. He can run the bases. He can play just about any position, too.
Yeah, Dave, you bring up a good point with Bay. And, another thing I like about him is he does stuff that the rest of the lineup does not do. His speed on the bases, his bat control. I'm starting to really like him in the number 9 spot. I think one of the things that it tells me, though, is the addition of Michael A. Taylor might not have been necessary. They probably could have spent $4 million somewhere else. G1 Bay's outfield defense has been really good. He was always just a really fast guy playing out there. I've been much more impressed with his comfortability, taking good routes, getting good reads, that sort of thing. And, very small sample, not saying he's here to stay, but so far so good.
Yeah, adding a Mike White Taylor, and I know you and I have talked about this before, you don't get to see what Edward Olivares can do or G1 Bay. I know they could have spent their money somewhere else, but I know what the Pirates are trying to do. You try to get these guys, see if they can help you win games and maybe get you to the next level, or you can trade them for something else. Let's go out to Jim and Peters. How you doing, Jim?
Yeah, guys, I'm feeling real good about the Pirates, and I do like J1 Bay, too. I remember last year going against the wall. He's fearless. And the thing about it is he puts pressure on people on the base, and Nick Gonzalez, between him, I mean, he's been a godsend coming up here. All they got to do is win their division, and it's winnable within this division. That's how I look at it. So, I mean, their middle relief is looking good. I think Chapman should be the 7th guy. Then Haldeman is just lights out lately, and then Chapman. I think they're looking good.
Yeah, I mean, Jason, look, I get optimistic, and then all of a sudden they might lose 5 out of 6 or something here. I've just been really disappointed in the bullpen. I think that's the part that's hard for me to get over right now. But, hey, if you can sweep the Braves, get close to 500, then all of a sudden kind of reset and just hang around 500. You can lose a couple games, win a couple games. Don't lose 8 in a row.
Yeah, I mean, that's certainly key, and I'll just build upon that with a couple points. They don't need to win their division. They really don't. If you go into a wild card in a 3-game playoff and you're going to run out Paul Skeens, Jarrett Jones, and Mitch Keller, I'll take that. I mean, if they win the division, that's great, but I think that's probably a little too much too soon. And I've really liked Nick Gonzalez as well. To the other point, he's not going anywhere. Jared Triolo, he's been good defensively, but just hasn't added enough with the bat. And Gonzalez has really added a nice extra element here. And they've struggled with men on base, like I said before, and that's been sort of an area of expertise for him so far. I think 14 RBIs in 15 games, something like that.
You struggle with men on base when you're trotting out Rowdy Tellez and Jack Sawinski. That was a major problem through those stretches. Neil Cruz, he didn't start heating up until after that either. Let's go out to Steve in Blackridge. How you doing, Steve?
Hi, Rich. I like the show.
Thanks.
Hey, listen, how come in baseball, every time the ball touches the ground in this little speck of dirt, they throw a new ball in?
Hey, it isn't the good old days anymore, right, Jason?
Nope. Nope. Part of it, I think they're somewhat worried about pitchers manipulating or doctoring the ball. Part of it is perfectionism. They just want every ball to look perfectly white and wonderful. I agree with you, though. I don't like it. And they get rid of these balls, and it's just kind of wasteful. You think about how much, 162 games, 30 teams, 9+ innings every night. I'd love to know the number of balls that they've just randomly thrown out of play, but it's not like they throw them in a garbage bag and get rid of them. I mean, you can use them for BP balls and they get recycled, but yeah, it is a little excessive sometimes.
Yeah, I remember hearing, I think someone told me how many balls they go through a game on average, and I just forget the number. We got to find that out, though. Let's go out to Mike and Shaler. How you doing, Mike?
Hey, guys. Thanks for taking the call.
Yep.
Real quick, I think it's the bullpen. I mean, if I'm looking right, they've lost 9 games where the bullpen had a 2-run-plus lead. If they won even half of those, it'd be well above 500. What do you guys think?
Well, yeah, you're not wrong. I mean, we've been saying this for the last couple of days and even go beyond that. I mean, David Bednar started the season with, 4 blown saves, right? And then he struggled off and on since then. And it looks like he's maybe found his game a little bit. Aroldis Chapman, he hasn't been the pitcher we thought he might be, the pitcher he wasn't last year. And Holderman blew the game the other night.
Yeah, I don't know what these numbers are currently, Richie. I know going into today's game, they had the worst bullpen ERA, or the second worst bullpen ERA in the National League. It was like 26th in MLB. They lead Major League Baseball in blown saves. And this is an area where they really thought they addressed this offseason, signing Chapman for $10.5 million. Again, this was a pronounced pivot. I've written about this, how they basically said, we're not getting the value that we want out of the starting pitching market, so we're going to go plunk some dollars down into relief pitching and make our bullpen one of the best in baseball. It's been one of the worst in baseball. I mean, that is a failure, and they should be criticized for it. And to another point, a caller brought up with Chapman in the 7th, Holderman in the 8th. I would rather see them go matchups. If the toughest matchup is in the 7th, deploy Holderman that way, give the easier assignment to Chapman in the 8th. But either way, Chapman needs to be a heck of a lot better.
Yeah, I think Chapman needs to find his confidence again, maybe. I know all these guys aren't short of confidence, but I think that could be part of the problem right now. All right, I want to switch gears a little bit. I mean, sticking with baseball and the Pirates, but Brian Hayes, he's resumed for baseball activities. What's his timeline right now? Are we going to see him soon?
Yeah, it's not going to be much longer. I mean, he's to the point where he is doing absolutely everything. He hasn't missed enough time to where they'd send him on a rehab assignment. I'd be really surprised. The next step is a conversation with Derek Shelton, but if it's not Sunday, I'd fully expect in Detroit this week that he'll be back.
All right, so we got about a minute before we have to take a break. What's your ideal lineup? I mean, take away the matchups, how they like to do righty-lefty. I mean, what do you want to do here? Who do you want to see? Do you want to see Ji-Hwan Bae in center field? I mean, Edward Olivares out there. I mean, obviously Connor Joe at first, Gonzalez at second. I mean, what kind of lineup would you put out there every day?
Yeah, you're pretty much hitting it, Richie. If it's a right-hander, I'm probably going Ji-Hwan Bae in center to get a left-handed bat in there. I'm going to bat Andrew McCutchen leadoff for now. I know he doesn't love it, but he's been highly productive in that spot. I kind of don't want to move him. Batting third, I'm not sure how I feel about that. I've kind of liked Connor Joe in that spot, to be honest with you, and maybe that puts Ryan Reynolds is my number 2 hitter. Maybe that puts O'Neal Cruz 4th. Right-hander on the mound, trying to think. I guess Nick Gonzalez 5th. I mean, he's been really good in a run-producing spot. I don't see why not. At that point, you're probably going Olivares, potentially. Yeah. Hayes when he gets back, obviously, and you're going to round it out with whether or not you play Michael A. Taylor, Yasmani Grandal, or the catcher. And I think that's it. I think I got everybody.
Yeah, that's it. All right, we got to take a break. Back with more of your phone calls coming up next. Stay right there.